It's Wednesday, the 29th of June. Good morning, Europe. A very warm welcome to the programme. Let's start by looking at our top stories.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky accuses Russia of becoming a terrorist state, urging for its removal from the UN Security Council after its missile attack on a shopping centre. Finland and Sweden are set to be formally invited to become NATO members as Turkey drops its objections to them joining, while members discuss how to further support Ukraine. And a former White House aide testifies at the Congressional Committee January 6th hearing that Donald Trump knowingly directed armed supporters to march to the US Capitol.
I now give the floor to
President Volodymyr Zelensky called for a moment of silence during an emergency session of the UN Security Council in remembrance of Ukrainians killed in the war with Russia. The meeting was called at Kyiv's request to discuss Monday's Russian missile attack on a crowded shopping mall in the city of Kremenchuk. Zelensky has accused Russia of terrorism and wants it removed from the council.
If a country killed any peaceful people, that would definitely be recognized as terrorism. Such an organization would become an enemy for all of humankind. Therefore, what is punished at the level of concrete criminals and criminal organizations must not go unchecked at the level of the state, which has become a terrorist.
Russia has repeatedly denied it deliberately targets civilian infrastructure.
In reality, there was no strike on the shopping centre. The Russian armed forces used precision weapons to strike hangars with Western weapons and ammunitions received from the United States and European countries in the area of the Kremenchuk road machinery plant.
Zelensky later released CCTV footage said to be the moment of the missile strike on the Kremenchuk shopping centre. At least 18 people died and around 59 were injured in the attack. The Kremlin has since said the war in Ukraine, which Moscow labels as a special military operation, could be over by the end of the day if Ukraine lays down its arms.
NATO leaders were given a royal welcome in Madrid on the eve of what will be a notable day for the military alliance. Finland and Sweden will be formally invited to become members after Tuesday's breakthrough when Turkey finally agreed to drop its objections to their admission. A great start, but there is plenty on the summit agenda with Russia's invasion of Ukraine dominating proceedings. They include seeking approval for plans to increase the number of troops on high alert, a necessity stressed by NATO's chief.
We'll agree a new strategic concept, the Madrid strategic concept, that will be the blueprint for NATO in a more dangerous and unpredictable world. We will agree a fundamental shift to our deterrence and defence, with more high readiness forces, with more forward defence, with more pre-positioned equipment. We will agree a comprehensive assistance package to Ukraine to help them uphold the right for self-defense. It is extremely important that we are ready to continue to provide support because Ukraine now faces a brutality which we haven't seen in Europe since the Second World War.
With Turkey agreeing to support Sweden and Finland's membership, it will bring the number of NATO countries bordering the Baltic Sea to 7. Ankara had objected as the pair have sheltered Kurdish activists whom Turkey view as terrorists. Experts predict that Finland and Sweden's addition to NATO will further anger the Kremlin, which sees NATO not as a defensive organisation but an aggressive one.
Following the historic agreement between Turkey, Finland and Sweden, the way for Finland and Sweden to join NATO is now open. But today, NATO leaders are going to discuss more issues, including Ukraine. They will discuss how they will further support the country, both financially and militarily. It is expected for the leaders to discuss the transition from giving them Soviet-era weapons to giving them more modern equipment. There are also some differences among the members of NATO on how the war in Ukraine will finally end. The G7 leaders confirmed, and NATO leaders are expected to reconfirm, that they will continue to support Ukraine as long as it takes, which means as long as the war is going on. But they don't agree on which concessions should Ukraine give to Russia if the war is about to end. But the leaders are also going to discuss the strategic concept of the alliance for the next decade. And this will include Russia as the most significant and direct threat for the alliance, but also they are going to set for the first time and to say it literally, the challenges that China poses to the Euro-Atlantic area. And there are also some differences on the wording and which will be the line among the leaders and what the text will say. The hardliners, of course, is the United States, and the European Union is, let's say, prefers something smoother. Efi Koutsakosta for Euronews, Madrid.
Truck drivers in Buenos Aires have blocked roads into the Argentinian capital in a protest at shortages and rising fuel prices, largely as a result of Russia's war in Ukraine. The government has vowed to guarantee the fuel supply, but truckers say profiteering is rife at service stations. The drivers are also demanding higher fees for grain deliveries. Convicted R&B superstar R. Kelly will face decades in jail as he awaits sentencing for sex trafficking. 9 months ago, the 55-year-old singer was found guilty of being the ringleader of a violent and coercive scheme to sexually abuse women and children. He will spend a minimum of 10 years in prison, with a maximum possible sentence being life. Five judges overseeing the trial into the November 2015 Paris attacks are due to deliver their verdicts today. It's taken nearly 10 months of testimony and questioning to get to this point, making it France's longest trial in the country's judicial history. There are only 20 suspects, including the only surviving Islamic State attacker, Salah Abdeslam. Only 14 people have appeared in court, with the other 6 either missing or presumed dead. During the trial, Abdeslam has not denied dropping off other suicide bombers, but he has said he backed out of the mission to blow himself up in a bar in northern Paris, something prosecutors have argued is untrue. They say Abdeslam's suicide belt was defective, meaning he was unable to detonate himself. The November 2015 attacks, which left 130 people dead, were the biggest peacetime atrocities in modern French history and sent shockwaves throughout the country. For the first time, a former White House aide has testified at congressional hearings into the January 6th attack. Cassidy Hutchinson said during a mix of live and recorded evidence, Trump knowingly directed armed supporters to march to the US Capitol in an effort to overturn the 2020 presidential election. He had ordered weapon detectors called mags to be removed at the rally on the morning of the 6th.
I was in the vicinity of a conversation where I overheard the president say something to the effect of, I don't effing care that they have weapons. They're not here to hurt me. Take the effing mags away. Let my people in. They can march to the Capitol from here. Let the people in. Take the effing mags away.
Hutchinson also revealed that even before January 6th, Trump and key aides were aware that things could turn violent.
I went back up to our office and I found Mr. Meadows in his office on the couch. He was scrolling through his phone. I remember leaning against the doorway and saying, I had an interesting conversation with Rudy, Mark. Sounds like we're going to go to the Capitol. He didn't look up from his phone and said something to the effect of, there's a lot going on, Cass, but I don't know, things might get real bad on January 6th.
The Democratic-led January 6th committee have sought to link the former president directly to the efforts preventing Congress from certifying the 2020 election results. Until now, testimony from someone who could offer a first-hand account of the situation in the run-up and on the day of the attack has been missing.
Time for us to take a brief break here on the programme, but we'll be back in a few moments with more news and analysis.